Hello, welcome to the Paris Airshow here on day 2. As you can hear, some of those military planes above, pretty noisy, so I'll try and speak to you and get over that huge sound barrier. Anyway, I'm in an H-175 helicopter. It's an amazing helicopter. It does mountain rescue, it takes people to oil platforms, and of course you can actually, if you've got a few euros spare, you can get a VIP version. Anyway, some amazing pictures were taken early this morning by our teams. Damien was here at 5 a.m. Here's some drone pictures of the Paris Air Show, of the whole setup here. It's really worth watching these pictures. They show you just how amazing this setup is. The static display, the Airbus chalet pavilion right behind the nerve center, the beehive where all the activities taking place. And these drone pictures are really, really impressive. Anyway, if you're just joining us here on day 2 for the first time, so much activity has taken place. Here's a look back at the highlights from yesterday. There you go, some of the highlights of what happened yesterday. Really busy schedule. I'll try and speak to you above these warplanes here. The Rafale is in the air right now as I'm speaking to you. So what's happened since yesterday? Well, we've had 7 chief technology officers, including from Airbus, all coming together and signing an accord on looking for ways of making aviation sustainable. Very important. It's a big, big theme right now about how we make this industry as green as possible and make us very aware of the environmental impact of aviation and make sure that we find solutions. So very important signature there. Earlier today, Cebu Pacific, a Philippines airline, Airbus faithful, made a big order for lots of planes from Airbus, including more than a dozen A330 Neos. Very important. Talking of military jets, yesterday, during the display which we carried to you live, we didn't have time to show you some of our helicopters in operation. So here's a video showing the Tiger in operation, a couple of Airbus military helicopters taking part in the display yesterday. You can see these pictures here, pretty amazing ones here. Let's just listen in to the helicopter shots here. Talking of defence, you can hear the defence. You know, defence is a crucial issue for Airbus. Our sovereignty in Europe is also important, and who actually has control over the planes and the aircraft that are being made. One new issue is something called FCAS. FCAS is Future Combat Air Systems. What's all this about? It means looking at 30, 35, 30, 40. We're looking at over 20 years from now on the air support, the air missions that Europe will have. France, Germany and Spain have come together to develop a new military aircraft along with drones and basically combining them all together to make them into a new defense system for what's going to be happening in 20, 30 years from now. Anyway, enough from me. I had a chance to speak to the expert on this, who's in charge of FCAS. Let's listen in.
It helps us to symbolize the fact that Future Combat Air System is not only a fighter. It's much more than that. It's a combination of different assets. You will have a newly to be developed fighter, which we will do together with Dassault. It will be supported by a whole fleet of remote carriers in all sizes. So here you have one example of it, which could be dropped by A400M. And if you join me, you could see It would drop from the F-100M, then open its wings, and then perform a mission around the aircraft, supporting it in the most threat areas of future scenarios.
This must be very complex because you have to look at something you'll be involved in 30 or 40 years from now.
And that's a big challenge actually, because today we are discussing with our customers what future threat scenarios will be. They give us some input, but it's based on what we know today. This system, the remote carrier, the new fighter, managed through a combat cloud, will be operating in 2040, 50, 60, 70, 80. Who knows how the future look like? So the big challenge for us is to develop technologies that will not be obsolete in 2040 and beyond. So to develop a system which is open, which is flexible, which is adaptable for future upgrade and new developments.
You've just made a big announcement about involvement of Spain in this project and how things are advancing with Dassault Aviation.
So the big announcement was twofold. The first one was on the state level, the governments. So it was a signature by the ministers of defense of France, Germany and Spain, signing a framework agreement engaging their country for a 10 years development of technologies and demonstrators in the program. So that's one from the nation side. The other one was the industry side, where both the CEOs of Airbus Defence and Space and Dassault signed an industrial agreement on how do we want to work for the demonstrator phase, which we hope will start already this year.
Is this all about making sure that Europe has its own security system and is in charge of what they have actually in terms of air power?
Yes, so all the program is about European sovereignty. It's about providing the European armed forces with a solution that they control and that keep them the capacity to maintain air superiority. And the other one is also developing competences in edge technologies in the industry to keep industry-wise our strategic autonomy. So it's twofold.
So there you have it from the expert, looking at sovereignty and the air power requirements in 20, 30 years from now. That's what Airbus is focusing on, as well as current programs right now. Going back to the civil side, the commercial side, you know, we had the baby sister, the A220 from Baltic Air, was stationed just behind me. It left, spent a few days here, had a chance for people to see it. Of course, it's the latest member of the Airbus family, and it's now been replaced by an A321 from La Compagnie. It's basically providing low-cost business class all the way between Paris and New York. Amazing seats, the latest Wi-Fi system. I've been inside it. It's really quite amazing. And you can see on these pictures here that the A220, as it left the show to go back to its real job of actually flying around and being replaced, like I said, by La Compagnie. And the whole thing about La Compagnie is this airline which is based in Paris and does New York, Paris, in all business, 76 seats only, in amazing comfort. And the cabin was actually, the interior was developed by Airbus itself. Very proud of that. Just hoping you can hear us here as the warplanes come to the end of their demonstration, and it gets a little bit quieter with the Airbuses. I think we can say that they're a lot quieter. Anyway, as you can see, these pictures of the A220 leaving and being replaced by the A321. Some other news that I should say is that the concept about flying cars is also very important, and Airbus is really developing autonomous vehicles. The idea is that once you arrive at the airport, how do you get from the airport to the city centre as quickly as you can? And we're developing a lot of autonomous vehicles there as well. Anyway, I'm really pleased to have a real expert with me, as opposed to a phony like myself. Sandrine Boer-Schaefer, hello.
Hello.
And of course, you're a flight test engineer to start with. You got your suit here. You've done a lot of these air shows in the past. But you go on to, ahead of new concepts. Before we talk about that, do you miss the flying bit?
Yes, of course, flying is really nice, but I'm lucky enough to be able to fly from time to time. So tomorrow I'll be doing the 330 flight display with my colleagues. And yes, you're right. 2 years ago, we were here with the A321 actually showing it in flight display. And I was fortunate enough to be part of the crew of the A321 flight display 2 years ago.
Just because it's such an important issue right now, are there many women now on the flight crew teams?
We are improving. There are quite a few. We have some flight test pilots, some flight test engineers. We are still lacking some test flight engineers, but I'm sure we'll get there.
And in fact, just so you know, Airbus is actually hiring. So if you are a fan of flying, and I think we need 300,000 pilots over the next 20 or 30 years. So, and engineers, right?
Right. This is really one of the big issues we will have to tackle in the years to come. You talked about sustainable airspace, sustainable airplanes. Connectivity is an issue, but also to train the pilots is actually one of the big issues we have. And this is one of the things we are doing today in my new organization, taking care of the Airbus Group demonstrators. The idea there is really to pave the route to single pilot operation. We have a demonstrator which is called ATOL for automated takeoff, taxi and landing, and the idea is there to be vision based and to be capable of landing in an aircraft thanks to this vision based images that will do a ILS, GLS lookalike signal, and basically the autoland can be then tuned on that autonomous signal. So these are part of the breaks to autonomy.
We'll talk a bit more about concepts in a bit, but that's a good way for me to talk about something which is really important to us, connectivity, the Internet of Things. Connectivity in the aircraft is going to become so much more important as sensors get put everywhere. And again, we have an expert who talked to me a little bit earlier about this. He's kind of our wizard of connectivity, Ingo, telling us a little bit more about how your plane journey is going to change enormously in the cabin. Let's listen in. You know, cabin experience is so important right now. Connectivity has a key role too. And Airbus has something called Cabin Vision 2030. To know more about this, here's the guru himself, Ingo. Hi, Ingo.
Hi, Chris. Nice to meet you. And I'm happy to talk to you about the Vision 2030 of the future passenger experience that we prepare for 2030. And I think best what we can do is let's walk up to the brand new A330neo and explain to you the future.
Let's go. So Ingo, we're on the plane now. So what is the cabin vision?
Actually, what you see is the current status of airspace, and the vision is that we inspire passengers by more choice, more individual personalized services, as well as digital enabled crew services to provide an overall personalized experience in the future. Actually, one example is the bin you see here. Is it empty or full? You don't know. The Internet of Things would enable that bin in a smart way with sensors that it shows you outside in a green light of their space. Or
Sandro, we're just going to break that because we now have the 330 taking off there. Can you see it there?
Yes, very nice airplane. So flight display is really a great thing. One of the important things for a pilot flying the airplane is really to make sure that you stay in the boundaries that are given here around the Airshow, because we are very close to Charles de Gaulle, and we need to make sure that we respect the heights and the boundaries that are given to the airplane. So this is really one of the crucial things for the pilots who are conducting the flight. Whilst they have a test flight engineer who is actually looking at the systems, and a flight test engineer who is making sure that everything is as we expected, that we don't hit too many flight controls boundaries, because obviously, our aircrafts are protected and not necessarily used in the way we show them during the demo flight. So there are lots of protection which are triggered, and the pilot has to compensate for those protections while he's doing the air show.
And I spoke to one of the pilots you knew very well, Frank Chapman. He's on the 330. He told me that basically it goes 500 meters. That's the height maximum, probably, right?
Right, exactly.
And he said that it goes, 220, 250 kilometers an hour? So it's nowhere near its top speed, right?
No, the whole flight display is done in Conf 3, because actually you want to have the time to have a nice look at the airplane. As you can see it right now on the pictures, just wonderfully turning left, and we do the whole show landing gear up, but in Conf 3 to be at a low speed for the public to be able to really get a glance of the aircraft, and then only on short final they will raise the gear to come up down for landing.
It looks like it's gliding.
It is, and you can't even hear it really. So there were lots of improvements done in fuel consumption, yes, in our new generation airplanes, but also with respect to noise, internal and external noise, and this is extremely important.
Earlier you were talking about your new job and concept, and one idea I think you talked to me was about having two planes kind of taking off at the same time, almost explain or something.
Exactly, we are working on a formation flight concept which aims really in our wish to reduce the environmental footprint and the CO2 emission and the fuel consumption of our airplane. We would like to mirror what the birds are actually doing and to safely fly for normal traffic, commercial traffic, a second airplane in the vicinity, but vicinity it's like 2 nautical miles away from the first one, so it's not anything to do with close formation, but still the second airplane would benefit from the vortex of the first one and thereby gaining fuel savings.
Because we were talking about this earlier, sustainability and looking at making these planes as green as possible is a real challenge right now, right?
It is, and it is extremely important, and I think it is our duty as a company to make sure that we do contribute to environmental sustainability and make sure that our products in the future are really meeting our environment expectation, our customers' expectation, and really what we need to have a sustainable world. So we are actually 2 flight demonstrators ongoing. One is the IFAN X1, which is flying a 2 megawatt hybrid electrical engine on a BAE aircraft, which will be flying by 2021 together with Rolls-Royce. And we have another project on electrification as well. So yes, it is a challenge today. We do not have all the technology ready as I speak to be able to go green, but we are really putting lots of effort in it. And with combined technology, I'm convinced we will get there.
And you also report to the Chief Technology Officer. And
Right.
she was one of the ones who signed this agreement today. You know about that?
Exactly. All CTOs of major companies in aerospace signed a white paper today, was really showing our joint ambition to reduce the environmental footprint of aviation and make aviation sustainable over the years to come.
Look at this. We're looking at pictures of the plane here. What's it doing now?
It's doing a flyover. You can see it turning left again. Landing gear is down already, and they will be coming back in for final landing before we leave the floor to the 350, which will be doing actually a very similar demo to the 331, but they have added a pushover maneuver on the 350.
And the 350's changed. I think there's been the range has improved. Do you know a little bit about that as well? They've had some changes on that one as well.
Yes, we are continuously improving all our products really. So there is the big buzz about the Neos, the single aisle Neo family, the 330 Neo family, but 350 likewise is undergoing a number of changes in the years to come to continue improving our products for our customers.
I think you also had a message, didn't you, for the employees, so they had some ideas.
Exactly, for all Airbus employees. As I said, I'm heading the demonstrator organization, and our aim is really to identify the breakthrough technologies that will have a definite impact on our new services and products of the future. And if anyone in Airbus out there has an idea of what he thinks we need to mature quickly to evaluate its value in a product-sizable environment, he would be very happy to post his idea on Idea Space, and we will have a look at it. And there you can see the 330 coming back for the landing.
Well, there we go. So, was the landing okay? Did they do that okay?
Perfect. Frank is one of our very good test pilots.
Well, Sandra, I want to thank you very much for what you've been telling us. It's great to have an expert, a pilot as well, an amateur pilot in your own free time, and a test engineer as well, with some real insight there. So thank you very much, okay?
Thank you very much.
More.
It was
Here
a
we
pleasure
go.
joining you.
And let me pass you on to our next expert. He's our audience is very familiar with him, Joaquin.
Hello, good afternoon, Chris, and good afternoon to everyone.
So anyway, we have here, we can see it here, plane just a landing.
Yeah.
So earlier, Sandy was telling me about how this plane, of course, is so much more fuel efficient because the Neo. to those who've been, I don't know, in a cave for the last 5 years and just got out of the cave, what does Neo mean?
The Neo, what we've been doing with the A330 is basically build on the same strengths as with the A320 after all the success of the A320 Neo. So we decided with the A330, that is already a very successful family, to take a similar approach and install a new wing with a new pair of engines and new systems, and that's basically what is the A330 Neo about. In comparison with the previous generation, it's delivering 25% lowest fuel burn per seat. So it's an aircraft that is working very nicely. Yesterday we were doing some announcement around Virgin Atlantic, and also this morning we were announcing for Cebu Pacific. They were confirming 16 of these A330-900 that they will be incorporating.
And we can see the 350-1000 is about to take off.
Yes, ready.
Now, yesterday you said that if anybody wanted to close a deal with you, you were offering a summer bargain.
Exactly.
Is that how Cebu ended up doing the deal with you?
No, I mean, normally these campaigns, just for everyone that is familiar, normally we are investing a lot of time. These machines, they are not cheap. A lot of these airlines, they are engaging and committing for a very long relationship with us. So that's something that is not just done on the turn of hearts. It's something that is building this type of relationship and confidence on both sides is not an immediate process. So we are investing time with them.
And Cebu, they've been a long-term customer?
They've been a long-term customer. They are already flying A330s. They are flying A320s. Only this morning, they were also committing to the XLR. They committed to 10 of those XLR that we are announcing yesterday at the launch. And they were committing also to some additional A320s, 5 of them. So on and on, I think that's a good customer base in the Philippines.
Let's recap the XLR, because that's really important. It's the, it's extra long range, right?
Extra long range. What we had for everyone that has been listening to us in the last few years, we were offering already an A321LR. That's an aircraft that is offering 4,000 nautical miles of range with 200 passengers basically in terms of payload. And some of our customers, they were approaching us and they were asking, could you not offer some additional range to us? So the reality is that we can. Basically this A321 XLR is offering 4,700 nautical miles of range with this 200 passengers capacity. And that's what we were announcing yesterday, and we had ALC, that's the first customer that we got to announce with 23 commitment for the aircraft, and today we've been announcing also the commitment from Cebu, as I was mentioning, and also from Saudia. Saudia, they decided to go ahead also ordering 15 of them.
Anyway, here's
A350-1000
the 350-1000 taking off.
Beautiful.
Tell us a little bit about this plane.
So this is fantastic machine. This is the other brother of the A350-900. Both of them basically, they are a clean sheet design that we've been proposing to our customers. We have combined in both versions nearly 900 of those planes sold by 51 customers. Of this version of the 1000, we have sold 180 of them and counting, because we are confident that we are going to be selling much more of this version. We have already delivered 21 of them between Cathay Pacific and Qatar, and we have just preparing a few days ago, we had the reveal out of the paint shop for British Airways. We are going to be delivering also to them quite soon, A350-1000. So it's a fantastic machine, offering well in excess 8,000 nautical miles capacity. When we are comparing with the nearest competitor, which is the 777-9 on the Boeing side, basically it's an aircraft that is 45 tons lighter than the 777-9. So that's an amazing figure. Basically, if you want to have the same economics, Boeing will need to fly the 777 empty with no passenger to be able to match the 350-1000.
I can just hear it going past now. It's beautiful, and it's going at no more than 250 kilometers an hour, and it's only about 500 meters above the pilots are telling me. It's actually quite low.
When you're looking into it, it looks like it's floating. It's very, very beautiful side. That's one of the great things out of all these air shows. Having the opportunity to see the flying display is always very exciting for the general public, for our customers, and also for the Airbus employees. It's the moment when you see a lot of the effort that all the employees are putting together coming here.
Yeah. And just behind us in the pavilion, which they can't see but it's a real beehive of activity. Customers coming in, VIPs coming in, President Macron came in yesterday. I mean, there's so much activity goes into what's going on today.
Yeah. Today and tomorrow, they are probably the two busiest days that we're having. We have loads and loads of customers visiting us, loads of delegations also. It's a celebration of the industry, and it's a time also for making business, making announcements. So I'm confident that we will be doing some additional announcement today and also tomorrow.
You're not telling the whole truth. There's a few glasses of champagne drunk as well.
Also, of course, it's part of the celebration.
So here we see the A350-1000 there, just gliding past, no more than 250 kilometers an hour, about 500 meters above us on a 7-minute route, basically, circling with the landing gear out, I think, right?
Yep.
Still there, and it'll be slowly making its way to its landing position. I can just hear it.
Fantastic plane, 70% of advanced materials, more than 50% out of composite, new engine generation, new systems, and also very important, something that we can offer right now across all our product offering is the aerospace cabin. So this is something that today we are offering for the A350, A330 and A320, and this will allow to our customers offering those three models, offering to their passengers a seamless passenger experience to them thanks to this cabin.
That's right. I was talking to Ingo earlier on, who's kind of our marketing cabin.
Connectivity.
Who was talking about the Internet of Things and how, for example, even if your seatbelt's not attached, someone doesn't have to come and check whether your seatbelt's attached or not.
That's part of the investigation and things that we may be putting together.
When you're putting your luggage in the overhead bins, I know my colleague Jeff Burridge, who's there, who's the producer of this show. He's less convinced, but this idea that it goes from green to red when it tells you how much space there's left, and I think that's a superb idea.
But the beauty of this A350-1000 and also the 900 is that because of the overhead stowage compartments that we're offering, all the passengers will have at least one piece of luggage space that they can be taking on board. So that's something that today...
That's music to your ears, isn't it?
Big time, because passengers more and more, they like to take the carry-on with them, and with the size of these overhead storage compartments, with the cabin that we're offering, we can guarantee that to the passengers.
Tell me the truth though, sometimes, when they say you can put a bag if your bag fits into this thing, you can take it on board, have they shrunk that or not, or is that still the same?
No, I mean, for me, that's exactly the same size. It changed then from one airline to the other. There is a standard sizing that they're using, but then that's up to each airline to decide what is the size of the piece of luggage that they want to allow the passengers to take on board.
As we see the 1000 there, so you can tell me that you said you won't give any secrets away, but you said that tomorrow will be a busy day as well.
Also, tomorrow is going to be a busy day. Today, I think that between now and the end of the day, probably we will be doing some additional announcement. We see exactly what it's going to be.
But just already a recap today, there was an announcement with Cebu, and they bought like 20 aircraft.
They were buying basically 26 of those A330-900, 16 of them. Then they were buying 10 A321XLR and 5 A320 Neos. Then we have an up conversion from AirAsia. They decided to commit and up convert more than 250 of their current A320s into A321 Neos. So that's also significant, and a confidence from the customer on the A321, and just the realization that the airlines, they want slightly more capacity on the aircraft that they are buying. We have also the announcement from Saudi.
Mm-hmm.
That's 50 A320s plus then 15 of these A321 XLR. So it's on and on, and I think it's a very fruitful day so far.
Well, thanks for that. As we see the 350-1000 making its way to its landing position.
Yeah, there you
landing
are.
very, very shortly. Well, we're coming to the close of this live here from Le Bourget on what was a very hot day, and sunny is now just hot and muggy, right?
Yeah, it's hot and muggy. Maybe it's better because yesterday I recall that it was very tough. Now with the clouds, we can still be outside. It's not that bad.
Well, there we have another good landing there. The 350-1000 as it reaches its parking station there
you
after
are.
a 7 or 8 minute flight out there. Beautiful thing to watch there.
Fantastic machine.
Well, Joaquin, as always, I want to thank you very much for your expert advice. And again, if someone is still, they've been doing a lot of work with you and they're suddenly thinking, do I need this plane or not? And they want to
Come over.
You're free over there?
I'll be telling them, just come over, we are here for you. And we have a glass of champagne and a deal to offer to you. So come over and visit us, please.
Okay, Joaquin there from the marketing message team. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Chris.
Appreciate it.
Good afternoon to everyone. Cheers.
So you're just seeing a little replay here in slow motion as the plane made its landing here on day 2 of the Paris Airshow here. We really hope you've enjoyed what we've been providing to you for, I guess, about half an hour, 40 minutes now. And we'll have so much for you in the coming days, of course. One thing I do want to mention is that, as you know, as you can see from my microphone, Airbus is celebrating its 50th birthday. 50 years that Airbus was created. And one thing which we've done is we're having celebrations. Of course, we've had planes in formation, the family formation taking place over Toulouse and over France, French skies, pretty impressive pictures. One thing we're doing is if you go to the Airbus website, you will see that we have 50 stories for 50 years, a new story per day. So do please go look to the website and you'll get some really interesting tidbits there about the stories and about what's been happening over here over the last 50 years. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed being with us. We've really enjoyed seeing this and I'm glad to have had some amazing experts. So from us here at the Paris Air Show, thank you much for your time and see you again tomorrow.